This segment is very much important and I am very much connected to this organization emotionally because मैं जब केस स्टडी पढ़ रहा था रिगार्डिंग ताज अटैक, एक क्वेश्चन मेरे दिमाग में सर हमेशा था कि ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है दैट टेररिस्ट ने अटैक किया ताज के ऊपर एंड आपकी कंपनी में से एक भी पर्सन वहां से जाने को तैयार नहीं है, बट दे वांट टू सेव देयर पर्टिकुलर जो भी वेस्ट हैं, दे डोंट वांट टू लीव, दे वांट टू सर्व. मतलब एक ऐसी तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कैसे बनती है कि जहां पे एम्प्लॉय सैलरी से नहीं चलते हैं बट दिल से चलते हैं. एंड वी आर सो मच प्रिविलेज एंड ऑनर्ड दैट वी हैव मिस्टर H.N. Srinivas sir from a brand called Tata, not a brand but the legacy of Tata company. Thank you so much sir for being here. It's our privilege, it's our honor. Let's give a big hand with a standing ovation to Sri H.N. Srinivasan sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. It's really, really an honor, sir. And before I hand over mic to sir, worked with the Taj Group of Hotels for 25 years of growing up to the Senior Vice President, Total Quality and Business Excellence, Corporate Quality Head and Senior Vice President of HR. He led the relief and rehabilitation operation for the terror victim families in the city of Mumbai post 26/11 terrorist attack. Worked with the HP Global Delivery India Center as a Director HR for 3 years, managing end-to-end HR process. Workforce of over 10,000 plus employees. Currently working with Tata Trust and Tata Institute of Social Science in a major project on skill development. And biggest honor for him is he was awarded as seasoned HR professional of the country from NHRD. And NIPM lifetime achievement for HR professional. So we are so privileged, so honored to have you with us. Let's give everyone a big round of applause to H.N. Srinivas sir. We are so excited to listen to you, sir. Please join us on the stage, sir, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Good evening to all of you. I think the method that he uses to energize you, I am not familiar with that. I think he is doing an outstanding job as an anchor and come here for the event. I am acutely aware of the fact that we are at the fag end of this session, and I was hearing and listening to the talks of various talented professionals, and I learned a lot sitting here and listening through the presentations of various people. It was very scholarly, it was very interesting. Like I said, I learned a lot. But since this is the last session, and there is obviously a bit of a fatigue that sets into all of you, I will make my presentation, I have completely changed it. I prepared something and I brought it. Now I have shifted the gears. What I'll do is I'll present certain incidents which explains what is sustainability, what is lasting, which are the companies who are built to last, and how long-lasting, successful companies, what are some fundamentals they address, and what kind of foundations they lay, which helps them over a period of time to become bigger, and not only operate in the cities and country where they started, but they become multinationals. And since I worked in Tata's for almost 30 years and I'm still connected with Tata's, I will be drawing from experiences of Tata's a little more actively, and also of course I'll give examples of other companies. And I'll present for about 25-30 minutes, and then there will be a 10-15 minutes question and answer. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, let us get back to 1895. That's about 125, 130 years ago. A fragile man, who is from this state, Gujarat, place called Navsari, with a lot of passion in his mind, was going around the deep jungles of Bihar, wanting to set up a steel mill in India. And all that he saw in what is called today's Jharkhand, parts of Orissa, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, all that he saw in the jungles, there were no roads, Kacha roads, and there were tribal settlements. And as he passed through those tribal settlements, they would all look at, because he was driving a vehicle, they would look at him with awe that they had never seen a vehicle like that those days. Something passing through. Then he decides on a location to set up the steel mill, and which is famously known today as Jamshedpur. He chooses that location, and the first set of consultants he gets from UK, England, I don't think anybody can make a guess. They were not structural engineers, they were not civil engineers, they were not metallurgists, they were two Fabian sociologists called Dr. and Sydney, Mr. and Mrs. Sydney and Beatrice Webb. The Fabian social movement was gaining momentum in London. In the cafes, they would sit and they talk about social action. And these two were very prominent figures. And he invites them to come to India, travel across the jungles of Bihar and what is today's Jharkhand, conduct a social audit, 1894. Conduct a social audit and tell us, submit a report to us how we can establish a relationship with our steel mill and the tribal settlements there. Is it possible for us to recruit, get some tribal children and train them in a skill school and make them as employees of Tata Steel? When you talk about sustainability and building relationship with society, I think he started with that thought. I'm sure by now you would have guessed whom I'm talking about, Jamshedji Tata, the founder of Tata Group. Then he realizes that there are no technical talent. Everybody laughed at him. You want to set up a steel mill? We are a colonized country. And for these pariah children, you want to bring them and then that to go into the interior parts of India, which is currently a big forest, jungle. And you want, who will come and work with you? Where are the staff? Where are your engineers? Those days in India, there must have been some 10 engineering colleges across the country. So the thought gets into his mind, I need to set up an engineering institute, a technical institute in India and train our children in technical skills, in science. So he starts going around the country, meets with the princely state, royal family people, requests them for a piece of land and some little money. He doesn't give up. 1 year, he goes round and round, round and round. Rajasthan, North India, what is parts of Pakistan today, and UP, Madhya Pradesh. Everybody looks at him and laughs at him and says, you want to build a science research institute, technology institute? Who will attend classes? Who are the teachers? Where are the trainers? I mean, you seem to be carrying a fanciful dream. We don't have money or time to waste with you. And they laughed at him. You should know India is a colonized country. And those days India was being used as a raw material appendage. It's a colonized nation. It's one of the colonies of British Empire. And India was, the raw material from India will go to Liverpool, Manchester and various other cities to enhance the capital and the imperialism of England. That was what was happening. So here is a man who is talking about establishing a science research institute. But then one youthful, saintly looking person says, your wish will be fulfilled. You can go to these locations. And he comes all the way and meets the Maharaja of Mysore. And he gets inspired, the Maharaja, and says, it's a wonderful dream that you are having. I mean, I compliment you for what you're saying. And north side of Bangalore is all our land. As much as you want, you can fence it, you can take it. And this is my 10,000 rupees. 10,000 rupees, imagine when. It was huge money. And that is how the famous Indian Institute of Science comes into being. And it had association with some great people like Vikram Sarabhai, Satish Dhawan, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Dr. Sir C.V. Raman was the director of the institute. So, building institutions of national importance was on his agenda, was the first and the most important primary task. To make it happen, he said, I will set up industry. We also make steel. It was a famous campaign, 40 years ago they were running. We are not only in health, child nutrition, education and welfare of people, but we also make steel. See, the kind of bonds they had built with society, communities, employees within the organization is unparalleled. They started with that. They began the journey of building industry with that. So when we talk about stakeholder relationship, when we manage the needs and expectations, the requirements, the aspirations, through creative responses to all stakeholders within an organization, whether it is employee, customer, vendor, shareholder, government, key communities in which you operate, if we understand their needs and requirements and respond to these needs in a very defined way, you are building a strong organization. Strong organization rests on the foundation of strong relationships. A seminal work was carried out by Professor Funabashi in the University of Tokyo about 30 years ago. You must be aware that in Japan there are companies who are 300-year-old. There are 15, 20 companies which are 500-year-old. They are still growing. They are still becoming bigger and bigger. There are some 500 companies who are more than 100-year-old. Toyota is a little more than 100, 120, 130-year-old, 150-year-old. So Dr. Funabashi, what he did, he wanted to see what defines some kind of a thread, common elements across these companies. These companies are built to last. They have been growing, they have been expanding, they have faced various cataclysms, wars, earthquakes, floods, famines, and economic and political downturn, upswing. They have gone through major catastrophe. They have managed to cope with it, and then they have continued to grow, continued to expand, continued to become bigger. So what defines this strength in these companies? He chose 100 companies, and he studied these companies over 11 years. Professor Funabashi, a seminal work he has done, Professor Funabashi. And he came with the findings came out, and some of the things that he said was very, very revealing. He said these are companies who build very strong relationships with all sections of people. An organization is a microcosm in a larger microcosm. It's a living entity. It deals with people. It's a collective human endeavor. Deals with people, serves people, takes strength from people. It's a people enterprise, whether it is customer, whether it is shareholder, vendor, society and communities in which you operate. Is there a process through which you blend with them, you understand their needs and expectations, sit with them, talk to them, and then incorporate that in your larger business plan? Is it a part of your strategic plan? When we say strategic plan, the word strategy is of recent origin, being used, misused, and all. Those days it was called business plan. On the board of Tata Steel in 1920, there was a great engineer of this country who is a Bharata Ratna, whose birthday is celebrated as Engineers' Day. Any guesses? Dr. Sir M. Vishwesvaraya. He served on the board of Tata Steel for 30 years, 33 years. And Dr. Sir M. Vishwesvaraya, consulting with the trade union president of Tata Steel, together they prepare what is called the business plan for Tata Steel. They start the chapter with community and society. Where we are operating, these are the people we are serving. Whom are we serving? Not to whom are we selling our steel. We are serving the nation. We are serving people. Any guesses who was the trade union president with whom Dr. Sir M. Vishwesvaraya interacted to create the business plan of Tata Steel? A great hero, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Sir M. Vishwesvaraya and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose together prepare a business plan which is available. If people are interested to see the business plan, it is available in the archives of Tata Steel in Jamshedpur. They have displayed it. He starts with community and society. Then he talks about customer. Then he talks about employees. And the last part, he talks about profits and shareholders. How do you see a strategic business plan today presented to a board in a boardroom or business plan review? It starts with what? It starts with financial performance of the company. I'm not saying financial performance is not important. It is extremely important. These are the outcomes. You can't be only looking at the outcomes or laying greater emphasis in the outcome than what creates that outcome. When you are playing a tennis game, your eyes should be on the ball and not on the scoreboard. You should play the game with complete involvement, and then scoreboard automatically happens. This scoreboard I am talking about is building relationship with multiple stakeholders within an organization. In one of the board meetings way back in 1969, 1970, in Tata Motors, those days it was called Telco, Professor Mulgonkar, who was the then MD and chairman, he was discussing with the directors of the company, and one of them, who was operational head, he was telling him, I think our margins are coming down. We need to increase the prices because we have a monopoly in trucks. Even today, Tata Motors have a monopoly in trucks. 54% of all the trucks sold in India, Tata Motors, they have a monstrous market share. Now, he said that is not a good enough reason. What do you mean? Have you thought from the angle of a customer? If you are a trustee who is protecting the interests of customer and take up for the customer with the company, if someone comes and tells you, because I am not making money, I want to increase the prices of the vehicle without adding any additional features or without improving the performance of the vehicle, how does it sound to you? Does it sound all right? I am rejecting this. More recently, in 19 93 in Taj Hotels. There was a lot of pressure, we had maximum number of IIT-IIMs, Taj Hotels, those in Tatas they are called TAS officers. We had about 25, 30 TAS officers in Taj Hotels. So they were all, very aspirational, very clever, very intelligent, bright, and they looked at the financial performance. We need to improve the financial performance. I think we have too many elderly people, old people. And we need to do a VRS scheme. The CEO calls me and asks me, they're all asking for a VRS scheme. What do you have to say? Well, sir, it is your decision. What do you want to do? You tell me. I'm an HR guy and I'll carry out your... Prepare a VRS scheme for Taj Mahal Hotel, Bombay. Because there are people who are 58, 60 and all that they are working. So my colleagues are telling me they need youngsters in their 20s. They were all sitting there, the senior people. And I said, sure. And me and another colleague of mine, we said, give us some time, we'll come back. And we went back and presented after a month the VRS scheme. And he said, okay, leave it here, I'll come back to you. And after 2 months, he calls us once again, and all the senior directors are sitting. And he starts shouting at me and saying that, I asked you to prepare the scheme. What happened? Why have you not given me? Sir, that day, I gave it to you. He said, no, that is rubbish. It is not good at all. So I was getting mad, why this man is talking like this. And I went back and I was sitting in the coffee shop. I was really fuming. And we were having a cup of coffee. After 45 minutes, he calls me back. And he is all milk and honey. He is very sweet and he orders for some tea and bhajiyas and all that. If you don't mind, after 2 months, once again I'll call you and shout at you. They were not there. The others, these people have worked with me. I have worked with them for 40 years, 50 years. I have been to their homes. And today, how can I call him and ask him, take some money and go home? What will he go and tell his daughter, a 13-year-old daughter who has to go to school, what will he tell her? Tata sent me home for no reason? I can't do this. I can never do this. So I can shout at you. No, I'm deliberately, giving you these anecdotes and not going into theoretical part of sustainability. I covered customers, I covered society, I covered employees. In a shareholders meeting when Indica was introduced by Tata Motors, I was sitting, I was as a shareholder, and many shareholders virtually asked for his resignation. And board of directors, they were in tears. Ratan Tata, for the first time I could see him, his voice getting a little choked. We need some other chairman to run the company. This has been a disaster when this Indica was introduced for the first time. And he said, I have put a team of 1,000 engineers in the R&D. I want to request all of you for just one more chance. And if this doesn't succeed, I'll step down from Tata Motors. Chairman telling them, Mr. Tata himself. And lo and behold, you know the rest of the story. Later on, it became successful and model after model they introduced. And more recently in Tata Motors, after Chandrasekharan has come, he has introduced a series of new models, and it's really, we have outperformed Hyundai also. We are number 2 now, after Maruti. So, whether it is shareholder, whether it is communities, whether it is employee or customers, the kind of relationship that has been built over several decades. In one of the functions, Founders Day function, Mr. Ratan Tata called one Sardar gentleman from Patiala, and there is a big song and dance, and he was brought on the stage, and he gave him the keys of one brand new Tata truck. And he said, this man reposed his trust in us. He is the first guy to buy a Tata truck 50 years ago, 48 years ago. So can I forget him? I can never forget him. He will always be a part of my family. Building sustainable relationships and measuring them. He would always tell us, what are your non-financial performance measures? Show me your customer sat measures. And he will grill us. Grill us. No, this is not good enough. This can be fudged. Consult. I have not stopped you from spending money. Go to the best consultants and get the best, most objective professional measure. I want to see what customers are saying about your Taj hotels. I want to see what employees are saying about Taj. Vendor satisfaction surveys were introduced in Tata's 40 years ago. Vendor sat surveys. And societal relationships, about 25, that is in 1996, makes it what, 27 years ago, that was introduced. How to measure our relationship with key communities and society. Measures were put. Surveys were conducted, reliable surveys. So he would first go through these non-financial performance measures, leadership effectiveness assessment measures, and then get into financial measures. So I'll take 10 more minutes and then you can ask me questions. I'll now allude to the kind of response that employees gave when the terror attack happened on 26/11 in Taj Hotels, in Maine, our flagship hotel Taj Mahal, Bombay. At about 9:40, a team of 4 terrorists carrying automatic weapons, AK-57 automatic Chinese machine guns and knapsack bags, explosives, they were carrying, and they rushed into the lobby and they were shooting, randomly at anybody who came into their sight. Within 20 minutes, Mr. Ratan Tata arrives there with the then Vice Chairman, Mr. Krishna Kumar. Krishna Kumar and Ratan Tata both lined up at the doorstep of Taj Hotel. Fortunately, police had come by then, and they are prevented from entering the hotel. But Ratan Tata is pushing. Whatever happens to thousands of people who are inside, who have come trusting me, should happen to me. He is trying to push himself inside. Fortunately, the police dragged him, and Mr. Krishna Kumar, despite this warning, pushed himself onto the door, and he was about to get in, looking at a terrorist who is standing at a distance. At a distance of some 50, 60 feet, there is a terrorist holding this automatic machine gun and standing there, but he was about to get in. A valet driver, he fell on his feet and pushed him, and in the process, he took a bullet on his shoulder. That fellow shot at him. He took a bullet on his shoulder, and Mr. Krishna Kumar was shouting, "Who is this idiot? Why is he doing this?" Like this. And then the valet driver comes out and says, "Sir, aap andar mat jana. Please don't go." And then he drags him and takes him to the other side of the road. He's screaming, shouting at him. Of course, after 10 days, he asked me, "Who is the driver who pushed me and dragged me? Who is that fellow?" He's a valet driver. Valet driver. He's a permanent. He's a temporary driver. Make him permanent. He realized there is a sacrifice element. So the terrorists were throwing this RDX all along the corridor in Taj Mahal, Bombay. I'm sure many of you have seen the inside of. There's a big corridor. They were throwing RDX and it will catch. It's highly inflammable. It's catch fire, smoke. And it's carbon monoxide. You can't stand there even for 10 seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And it's most dangerous. And they threw RDX everywhere. And they thought a lot of people will come running to the lobby. They can come back and kill all of them. The casualty will be high. In the bargain, they go into one restaurant called Wasabi. When you enter Harbor Bar and climb the stairs, there is a Japanese restaurant. There were about 10, 15 guests and 10 employees. And these 10 employees saw the terrorists coming and opening fire, and one or two employees get injured on their shoulders. The automatic response of the guests is to bend and, below the table, and through RDX, and they go away. And there is this one senior waiter called Varghese. He says, let us form a cordon and rescue all the guests first. Let us get all the guests out. And after that, all of you can go, escape, go through the kitchen door, wait near the laundry, I'll come. And they were falling head over one over the other on the spiral staircase. There is such a mad panic. In about 40-50 seconds, they all enter the ground floor kitchen door, and this fellow is the last one to go. As he enters the kitchen door, the one terrorist has come back and sprays bullets on his body, and he is dead. And the last fellow who escaped knows that he is dead. So they're all waiting, and they were all rescued. The people who were there were all rescued. And Mr. Ratan Tata says, I want to meet with the families of these people because they're a part of my family. Families of these employees. And I still remember the day when I had arranged for it in a suite in President Hotel in Cuff Parade. Mr. Tata and Krishna Kumar came at about 8:30 in the night. And we were all sitting, three of us were sitting. And this Varghese's cremation was 2 days ago, I had attended. And his wife was there, she was crying, and his mother had come down from Kerala, and his two sons, they were all crying, and they entered, this suite, and they were made to sit. They were crying and sobbing. And this lady is saying, sir, I am not unhappy, I am happy. My husband loved Taj more than his home. He was so committed to work there. I can't explain this to you. He used to be thrilled going to the hotel to work there. And now, in the process of serving customers, he has laid down his life. And she broke down and she said, he will go to the kingdom of God, sir. And she says, we will put his portrait in our living room, and my children should follow this work ethics, being committed to service, committed to the company where you are working, practicing the values that the company has laid out. Money comes and goes. That's not very important. Standing by these principles and work ethics is very important for us, sir. And everybody's eyes turned wet. She said that and she left. For about almost 1 minute, nobody was able to talk. And Ratan Tata breaks the silence, and he asked me, how do you explain this? You want to call it world-class service, world-beating service? All those words sound frivolous. This fellow has laid down his life, and this woman, his wife, she says money is not so important. Work ethics is important. Values are important. She stands tall in front of me. I look like a pygmy. We put, in our back area notice boards, our vision, mission, core values and all that. All of you do that in our companies, and he's asking us, yes, we do it. Look at this lady. He's a live case of how someone has practiced and to the extent that he's given up his life. Can I now say this company belongs to me? That will be a very silly, wrong statement. This company belongs to the employees. It is these people, who have created and built this company. Dr. Rohit Deshpande, who came from Harvard to do a case study on this, it's a very popular case study. He was asking me, Mr. Srinivas, tell me what HR practices you followed in your organization. And so that, these people have laid down their life. And I have interviewed a number of employees. I received thousands of letters, hundreds of letters from customers describing to me how they were saved in the hotel and some employee has laid down his life. In the process of saving, he has given up his life. And I have received any number of letters like that. There were totally 36 people who died and the rest of them were injured. And I told Rohit Deshpande, see Rohit, if I tell you, you're a Harvard professor, all right. If I tell you we do some interesting work in HR department, so that is why all this has happened. That is why this enormous commitment by employees have been shown. It will sound silly. It will be ludicrous. That is not true. It is the commitment of generations of people in Tatas, whether it's Jamshedji Tata, JRD Tata, Ratan Tata. Their commitment to build relationships, be humane, practice ethical values, be kind to employees, be kind to customers, be kind to vendors. So that has rubbed off. Anybody who works in this company over a period of time, that rubs off. I'll just give you two more examples and then I'll conclude. You can ask. 3 days after the terror attack, we were just waiting outside looking at this most horrible spectacle of flames and fire gushing out of windows in the 5th floor, 6th floor, and gunshot sounds, grenade blast sounds, and without having a clue what is going on, because that day was a full packed day. The day terror attack happened, there was a Bori Muslim wedding from Gujarat family. He was conducting a wedding reception. From 108 people were there. The wedding reception. Unilever Corporation leadership summit was going on and in Gateway Room, and about 40-50 of top leaders of Unilevers worldwide, they were all there. And restaurants, in Bombay city, after 9:30, 10 o'clock and all that, restaurants are packed. Now, we don't know what has happened inside. The third day, this terror attack happened, that 26/11/2008 was a Wednesday. On Saturday morning, the guy, Major General Abhay Gupta, who took charge on that next day, he told us, we have killed all the terrorists, you can come inside. When we went inside, it was looking like a ravaged battlefield. Complete destruction, and everything was broken, torn. And he did not allow us to go inside because he said we are getting the sniffer dogs and there may be some, explosives kept inside and all that. We don't want to take chances. Already there is enough casualty. And the press, the media was completely, there were about 150 people. They were, standing all over. They were demanding that Ratan Tata should make a statement. And he came out and said, look here, I have not yet understood what has happened and what's going on. I know it's a terror attack. Initially we thought it is some local gunda fight and all that, but later on it's a terror attack, very planned terror attack. They were carrying satellite phones, reporting to one Bashir in the headquarters somewhere, Abbottabad or wherever. It's all known, it's all published data. Now, so what is the extent of damage, how many people have died, all that, we are waiting for the information. And then he said, no, say something. They were shouting. You name the reporter, English TV and local language, Hindi TV anchor, they were all there. The prominent names, they were all there. Rajdev Sardesai, Barka, Radham Kosan, everybody was there. And Ratan Tata said, look here, they have hurt us, but they can't beat us down as a nation. We are a strong nation. They have hurt us, nevertheless. He was referring to Tatas, he was referring to Bombay City, he was referring to... And as soon as possible, maybe within a month, it will be business as usual. One part of the hotel I'll open. None of the employees will lose jobs. Even if a temporary person was joined, the one day before, he will come back and wear uniforms and start working. And number two, the most important statement, I am now telling you, I am going to provide relief and rehabilitation for all the terror victims in the city of Mumbai. I am aware it has happened in Chhatrapati Shivaji Station, that is the worst location where it has happened, in Boribandar, in Kama Hospital, Leopold Cafe, Nariman House, Oberoi Hotel, Santa Cruz, the Marine Drive. In a number of places it has happened. And I will take care of all the terror victims in the city of Mumbai and their families, deceased families. So one of our directors was standing next to Ratan Tata, said, sir, Mr. Srinivas is in touch with the police headquarters. We don't have the accurate information. We don't know the correct figure. How many are dead? He was trying to indirectly tell Mr. Ratan Tata, without knowing the size of the problem, how are you making a commitment? Indirectly he's trying to tell him. Ratan Tata looked at him menacingly and said, so, do you know how much Bombay city has given us? We are what we are because of the people of the city. And after taking all that, when they are crying, they are in pain, should I count money? Is this the time to count money? Whatever it takes. Let it be hundreds of crores. I will take care of each one of the families. Immediately set up a trust. I had the good fortune of doing that rehabilitation work. A team of 20 people. I went to the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, met Dr. Parashuraman those days. We constituted a team of 30, 40 people, did need assessment survey and started dishing out, relief. Within 1 month, the terror victims were getting, some of the poor people who died were getting a monthly subsistence allowance. Their children were brought back and put in schools. And some of them, we trained them and gave them jobs in Taj hotels for a period of time. I'm cutting it short. And people who died in the Taj, the employees who died in Taj terror attack, a comprehensive package of rehabilitation was given to them. We said, for all the rest of your life, for your family, we will take care of you. Your education, your health, your everything. Your all waves will be, loans will be waived off. Whatever you require, because you are an integral part of our family, much more than anybody else. Your husband has given up his life for this company. We'll take care of you. So it's all about contribution, building relationships, like Dr. Funambashi said, and also Jim Collins in US conducted a similar study and Built to Last. And he also took some 7-8 years. He took some 100 companies and who has created shareholder value where it has enhanced over a period of time. I think they have come to some similar conclusions. People who are capable of building strong relationships, not by just saying, by putting measures, by being honest in accepting there is a problem. How many of us, even a simple thing like customer feedback, how many of us are willing to take an honest customer feedback? Some of us do, not all. How many of us are willing to take an honest employee feedback? Some of us do, many of us do, not all of us. Similarly, society. You can't be an ivory tower and enjoying luxuries of life and there is hunger and poverty outside of your compound. You need to define the relationship of how you can support them, help them, rehabilitate them. When we set up our soda plant in Uganda, the largest soda ash plant in Africa, in a place called Magadi, 3 hours from Nairobi. It was in doldrums, 7,000 employees. Two things, first things we did, Ratan Tata went there and he said, nobody will lose his jobs. Take that out of your mind. And they're all surprised. What is he talking? Unless you do that, you can't turn it around. Number one. Number two, the first few things we'll do is not to bring technology into the factory. We will set up a hospital, we will set up a school, and we will study this entire region of 50-kilometer radius and understand their needs and requirements and serve them and put processes to serve them. After that, it is technology. After that, it is something else, balance sheet. See, this has been a tradition in the organization. And those employees, when Ratan Tata used to do his annual meet, in about 10-15 screens, various country people would come on the screen. You should see the spirit and the energy with which they would say, oh, we are all Tata employees, and they're excited. And they would say, nobody should take us over. We are extremely happy. We are Tata employees. When Modi went to, or Prime Minister Modi ji went to Saudi Arabia, we have 5,000 employees of TCS in Saudi Arabia, all locals, most of them. They all went and they were standing around him and they were cheering him. No wonder he got the equivalent of a Bharat Ratna there. So, employee welfare, building relationship with society and communities, strengthening them, measuring the performance of your relationship, the manner in which you're built, vendor relationships, customer excellence, listening to customer, establishing those listening posts, customer side surveys, dealer side surveys, employees, shareholders, all this getting integrated into a company plan, a business plan, that is the strategic plan, and that requires execution. And that is why in Tata Company, many of them, they start a strategy review meeting by looking at non-financial performance indicators first. So it's all about contribution. The wealth that you create in a society, 10 times over, you should give it back to the society. That is the purpose of creating wealth, is what Jayadi used to say. So contribution, I'll end my talk with a quotation from the famous scientist Albert Einstein. 100 times a day, I remind myself that my life is created and made up of contributions of hundreds of men and women, some of whom are alive and some are dead. And this reminds me that I should contribute in order to give. I should exert myself in order to give in the same measure as I have received and I am receiving. Unquote. Thank you.
Wow. Let's give a big hand once again, everyone. Fantastic. So, fantastic. Sir, pin drop silence. Throughout your speech, everybody was focused, everybody was concentrating, and sir, you are a great storyteller. Agree or not? Great, sir. Fantastic. And I think so your whole speech is all about the, the value system, that what we can develop in our family, in our company. Amazing, sir, amazing. So, after this amazing speech, let me invite Karthik and Pawan for the gratitude plant. Can we have Karthik and Pawan? Yes. Please, sir.